Hello, boys and girls. Today we're going to be reading a story called Super Tools. Super Tools. And if you remember from yesterday, we talked about our essential question for this week. And our essential question is, how can we work together to make our lives better? So how can we work together to make our lives better? In this story, as we read about this girl, it says, read about how a girl's forgotten writing tools work together to become useful again. So the writing tools are going to be some of our characters, even though we know that writing tools don't really speak or have eyes. In the story, they do, and that's why it's fantasy. So the genre is fantasy. It's not real. And not only is it not real, it's something that could never really happen because our tools and our objects, they don't have eyes, they don't have mouths, they don't speak to each other. They're not alive. But as we're reading, I want you to think about that question. How do the tools help each other so that they're useful again? How do they help each other? Keep that in your mind. Keep it in your mind. How do the tools help each other? Okay. So the title is Super Tools. Super Tools. What do you think are some of the tools that we might be reading about? And who are some of the characters in the story? Look at the picture. I see some people. They might be characters. I also see some tools here. What other tools do you think she might use? A few weeks ago, Lucy's mom and dad brought a new computer home. "This is so cool," exclaimed Lucy. Lucy used the computer all the time, but not everyone was happy about the new computer. Who's not happy? It looks to me like the pencils are not very happy. Lucy didn't know, but her writing tools felt sad and useless. Oh no. One day while she was at school, they had an emergency meeting. "Lucy hasn't used us in weeks," cried the markers. "Can we demand to be used?" asked the crayons. "No, that would be rude. But we can remind her how great we are," said the pencils. "Yes," they all agreed. "Let's remind her." So what's their plan? What are they going to do? After school, as soon as Lucy came through the door, she grabbed a glass of juice and went right to her computer. She had to write a report about birds. The writing tools watched and waited. When Lucy was done, she printed her report. Look how intensely they're watching her. That night, the writing tools got busy. They worked together to make a picture for Lucy. The pencils made a sketch. The markers drew the birds in the tree. The crayons drew the sun in the blue sky. The picture was good enough to frame. So what are they doing? What are these tools doing? Remember that question that I told you to keep in your mind. How do the tools help each other? The next day was Saturday. Lucy woke up late. Then she went to get her report. Lucy gasped. Gasped means like, she couldn't believe her eyes. "Who drew this great picture?" she asked. Wow, look at that. They did a good job. "Did you draw this?" Lucy asked Mom and Dad. "You know the answer to that," they laughed. "Stop joking. You drew that great picture." That made Lucy think she wished she had drawn it. "It is fun to draw," she said. What made her want to draw? Did she draw that one? No, but now she's thinking about it. Lucy hung the picture in her room. Then she took out the pencils, crayons, and markers. "I'll draw my own picture for my report," she said. Lucy and her pencils, crayons, and markers worked together. They drew a super picture. From that day on, Lucy kept drawing, and the writing tools felt happy and useful. So I told you to keep that question in your mind. How did Lucy's writing tools work together to become useful again? Because if they hadn't worked together, then she probably wouldn't have started using them again. So what did they do to come together? What did they do? How did they work together? Now here it says, Lucy and her pencils, crayons, and markers worked together. They drew a super picture. But how? How did they do that? So now we're going to look at one of our graphic organizers on page 274 in your squirrel book. Look at page 274 in your squirrel book. Go ahead and find it. So we're looking for clues to fit our theme, right? So our theme is the big idea or the message that we're trying to get from the story. And our message is kind of seen throughout the story when it's asking us questions. So what's the point of the story? What's it trying to teach us? And we know from our essential questions that can help guide us. The story is trying to teach us how we can work together to make our lives better. So in the story, who works together? The tools, right? Even though they're not real, they're representing characters. So we're imagining that they're real. So our theme down here is that the writing tools work together to make their lives better. They want to be used, but Lucy's forgotten them because of her computer. So our theme is that if we work together, we can make our lives better. The tools worked together to make their lives better. They wanted to be used again. So what are some of the clues that lead us to this theme? How do they work together to make their lives better? Our theme is our big idea. And the story is trying to show us that if we work together, it's better. The writing tools work together to make their lives better. Now we need to find some clues, like a detective from our story. Find some clues. How did they work together to make their lives better? So let's go back, because good readers go back and reread things. So I'm going to start right here. It said, Lucy didn't know, but her writing tools felt sad and useless. One day while she was at school, they had an emergency meeting. Lucy hasn't used us in weeks, cried the markers. Can we demand to be used? Asked the crayons. No, that would be rude. But we can remind her how great we are, said the pencils. Yes, they all agreed. Let's remind her. So how did they remind her? What did they do? After school, as soon as Lucy came through the door, she grabbed a glass of juice and went right to her computer. She had to write a report about birds. The writing tools watched and waited. When Lucy was done, she printed her report. That night, the writing tools got busy. They worked together to make a picture for Lucy. The pencils made a sketch, the markers drew birds in the tree, the crayons drew the sun in the blue sky. The picture was good enough to frame. So what did they do? What did they do to help? How did they work together? They each had a job. What did they do? So clue number 1 is that the pencils drew or made a sketch. That was their job. What did the other guys do? The pencils made a sketch. The markers drew the birds in the tree. The crayons drew the sun and the blue sky. The picture was good enough to frame. They worked together. What did they do? So go ahead and find more clues. You're going to need 2 more clues that lead us to the theme. The writing tools work together to make their lives better. So what other 2 clues do we have? How do they help each other? The pencils drew a sketch. The markers, what did they do? And what did the crayons do? The markers drew birds. Drew the birds in the tree. Period. And what did the crayons do? How did they help? The pencils made a sketch. The markers drew the birds in the tree. The crayons drew the sun in a blue sky. The picture was good enough to frame. Find your last clue and go ahead and put it in your box. How did they work together? And yesterday, I also asked you to start thinking about things that we can do to help each other, to work together. What can we do to help each other to work together? Okay, there you go. You're gonna find me that last clue, and then you're gonna take a picture and post it on Dojo for me. Okay, good luck.